I'm Melissa. This is Martin, Haley, and Maddie, and we're cruising America's Great Loop on our boat Cavalier. We welcome you to hop aboard and share in this journey with us.
Hey, child, up and go. A big world is out there waiting for us to live in every day. Outside, you will find there is love all around you. It takes you, makes you wanna say.
We're leaving Cape May. That's the ocean. But we're not taking the ocean today.
And it's a beautiful night. And it's a beautiful world. And it's a beautiful time to be here, to be here, to be here.
Okay, welcome back to the Cavalier for another episode of Cruising Cavaliers. Cheers, baby.
Cheers.
So where we left off, we were in Chesapeake City, which was had just got out of the Chesapeake Bay. And from there, we really were going to be doing a series of almost like a week, I think it was, of traveling, really. Because our next big destination was really Atlantic City. But to get there, we had to go through a lot of stuff. So we left Chesapeake City, and we went out into finished going through the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal, and then we had to go down the Delaware Bay, which is actually pretty big water. It gets real wide out there. But we picked a good day.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, it was nice out there. So we got on down the bay, and then just before you get out in the ocean, you go over and you duck into the Cape May Channel and get into Cape May, New Jersey. So we actually went through 2 more states going
Yeah.
that. So we went through Delaware, and then we ended up spending a night in New Jersey. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So really all we did there was just an overnight stay. No big deal. Then we got up the next day, and we had to, from that point on, we were going on the New Jersey Intercoastal Waterway, and there's some parts that are pretty low. They're not very deep. So everybody recommends that you go with the tides and you go with a rising tide, so that if you do have a problem, you can get out of it. So that's what we were doing, and we left about, I think, about 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or something like that. We should have waited a little later. We really should have, because we got going, and after about an hour we grounded. Maybe got it just a tight little bit out of the channel. We're not really sure, but the problem was, once we did ground, it wasn't all that hard ground. It didn't do any damage. But the way the tide and the wind were doing is, every time the tide was coming up, but the wind and the current were just pushing us onto the shelf.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes they say if the tide's rising, you just sit it out and
sit
wait.
out and then pull
but
back.
everything was pushing us
Yeah.
more into the shallow.
And we could see ourselves just getting moving out of the channel more and more as we went. So we called for CETO to come pull us out. And they did, but they had a heck of a time pulling us out, because again, by that point we were way up on the shelf, and so they had to wait until, now they basically put a tug on us on a line, and then kept steady tension. So now, when the tide kept rising, we weren't getting pushed further and further on. So eventually we rose up enough to they were able to drag us off. So,
and it was a Sunday, and it was like a busy little part of the channel, and these boats just kept whipping by, and I'm out there going, slow down, because this poor guy's trying to get us out, and he's got this little boat, it's just whopping him all over. Martin's out there, slow down. The CETO guy's doing the same thing.
I know, and most of them did.
Most of them did, but there's still
there was a few of us that just kind of gave us a salute as it came up. You know what I'm talking about.
But anyways, it was he got us out.
He got us out. So, and then also by that time it was getting late, so we weren't going to make it. We weren't going to make it all the way to Atlantic City, which was our original goal. So basically, at that point, he actually was really good, and he called around. We couldn't get anybody to answer us in the marinas or anything else, and he got us into a marina at Stone Harbor and talked with the guys, and they basically just said, take any slip you want and just pull in. So that's what we did. And
Yes.
The next day, I talked to the guy there, which was really nice. But unfortunately, because here's the thing, also, we're having a problem with our depth sensor, and we know we needed to replace it. We just haven't had the ability, and it's getting worse now. So we really wanted to get that fixed before we moved, right?
Especially because it's just so shallow
It's
water.
so shallow.
We really need it.
Yeah, we really need it. So, unfortunately, they couldn't haul us. We were too big of a boat, too wide of a boat to haul us in Stone Harbor. So Steve there, the guy really nice, he worked with another marina up the way, Avalon, and they said they could probably take care of us up there, and he even got a hold of an electronics guy. They could put the depth sensor in. So it was all coming together.
Stars are in the sky, what a beautiful sight. Dancing with a firefly on a perfect night. Shimmer and shine, the sun starts to rise. Love in this quiet time.
And then the next day we got up to Avalon, and midday they just tied us up on a fuel dock because they didn't really have any place for us either there. And the next day they hauled us, and the electronics guy came over and he replaced the depth transducer. Which doing it puts a hole in your boat, so you can't do it in the water for sure. So we got that, but by the time we got it replaced, it was like 8 o'clock at night or something. It was getting really late, so we weren't going to move that night either. So we stayed tied up there pretty much.
Beneath the skies, it's a brand new day. In a brand new way. It's a brand new day. In a brand.
It's a crazy little squall passing by.
And the next day was kind of interesting because we were talking about the tides.
Yeah, so he was saying that in the shallow, this part of the ICW, you really want to leave on a rising tide and then the high tide, and then you don't want to mess around with any of the low tides. So if we were to leave, we were going to leave at 6 o'clock would be the perfect time to leave, and that would get us up to Atlantic City at 9:30. Well, that's too early to get into a slip.
Yeah.
They're usually like 1 o'clock is when you can check in. So we thought, well, there's an anchorage partway through, maybe halfway through, and we thought, well, we'll just anchor another night. And then Martin came up with a good idea. Sometimes you get tunnel vision and you're like, well, you have to stay wherever you go. And he's like, well, there's another tide, so why don't we just anchor, go up to this Rainbow Channel, I think it was, and it's near Ocean City, and just anchor for a few hours till the next high tide starts, and then get into Atlantic City. So that's what we did. We got in about 5 o'clock. And it was perfect.
Yeah,
it was
nice.
kind of weird just sitting around waiting to leave, but we kind of relaxed and we got some stuff done. I don't really remember what we did, but but that was a really good idea. It's something to remember. You don't always have to. You can wait something out and then continue.
Just
on.
continue. Yeah.
So
it worked out pretty good. And it was only a little bit irritating here because we were in the middle of a racetrack. They rented jet skis all day, so the jet skis were just lapping us one after another.
Yeah, and it said that in the reviews, but we didn't really care. It wasn't a big. We were holding really good, so but it wouldn't be a real peaceful place to stay. They say at night it calms down. It calms down, but anyway.
Yeah, so then in the afternoon tide, we went ahead and made our way up here, and it got into Atlantic City and got docked, and everything was nice here. So it's like, and you really have to be careful. This section of the ICW was really weird. We had to go through a bunch of bridges, and we were going through these tiny little downtown little places to where it's like you would have never thought that would be where they'd route. Going through there, we looked kind of ridiculous being such a big boat, going through all these tiny little turns and through bridges and
we got really. You have to time. We weren't timing. We were timing the tides and not the bridges.
Yeah.
Which is what you should do, but we got real lucky because you have to read up on. We have Skipper Bob's. I'm not sure where else you can find this information, but the Skipper Bob's has it. But there was one bridge that we had to wait for. That guy had to call the police for some reason, and we both listened to him. He goes, "Okay," when Martin called him, he says, "Okay, when I see you, I'll call the police." And we're like, "What?
Did
you hear that?
Arrest us? What?"
No, they had to get permission or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we had to wait a little bit, and then the next bridge only opened between 4 and 6. It wouldn't open. And it's like we had to get there by 4, and we had to kind of book it a little to get there because we didn't want to anchor again and wait till 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and I called the guy and said,
he goes,
called the bridge and said, "Hey, are you going to do your 4 o'clock?" He goes, "Yeah, if you get here, we'll do it."
He goes, "You got 10 minutes."
Yeah.
It's like, oh boy, because he wasn't gonna. He wasn't gonna vary from that.
Right. But, and then the next bridge was a railroad bridge. It was the same sort of thing. It was only a mile up there, but by that time it was only going to open, I think, 20 after the hour or something.
Yeah.
So again, we were going to lose another half hour or an hour waiting on that bridge because
But we got there in time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But you really have to kind of time those with the tides, and you may end up getting stuck for a little while, but we didn't. We were lucky enough, and so we got in here in Atlantic City and.
Yeah, it's
we
good.
made it through. It was a long week, but
a lot of traveling, but we're here. Cheers!
It's not always perfectly fun, but the majority of the time it's a lot of fun. But sometimes you got these bad days.
Yeah, it's just work sometimes too.
Yeah,
so.
But
Maddie,
it's all good.
Are you telling me I'm talking too much again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We're in Atlantic City, so we're gonna go have some fun tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for coming along with another episode of Cruising Cavaliers. Cheers and happy trails. No. Stay back here. Come on. Stay here. Stay here. Okay, well, welcome. Hey, stay. At least stay till we get going.
Never work with children or dogs.
Yeah.